Section 4. You will hear a talk by an archaeological scientist on her latest research. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now, listen and answer questions 31 to 40.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Many of you may remember that in 1991, a couple who were hiking high in the mountains on the border between Italy and Austria found the body of a man who had died 5,300 years ago. This corpse was later given the nickname the Iceman. Fortunately, a complete set of clothes and a variety of gear were found on or near the corpse, and these give us further clues as to his identity. Today, I'd like to speak to you about some of the latest findings on the Iceman. Scientists have learned from the Iceman's corpse in the same way as detectives investigating a murder gather clues from the victim's body. The study of the Iceman's bones shows that he was 46 years old at the time of death, which is relatively old for people at that time. It appears that he belonged to a group from central northern Europe rather than to the group of people who lived not far to the south of the spot where his body was found. Yet it seems he may have moved around somewhat during his life. Although exactly where he spent his life is unknown, investigation of his tooth enamel suggests that he grew up in one place and then spent several decades in another area. Samples taken from his stomach and intestines give us an indication of what he'd eaten shortly before his death, including grains, though this does not allow conclusions to be drawn as to what he usually ate. However, samples of his hair show that his usual diet consisted of plants and the meat of several animals. Living in a time long before the development of modern medicine, the tattoos on his back may indicate acupuncture points, yet on the other hand they could simply be a form of body decoration. It seems that he was not in a good state of health in the last 6 months of his life. There are 3 lines, known as Bowes lines, on the single fingernail that was found. These lines occur if the nail stops growing due to illness and then starts growing again. It was initially assumed that he died of the cold in autumn because of the presence of a piece of fruit that ripens in late summer. Yet there is now strong botanical evidence that he died in spring. This is because pollen of the hop hornbeam tree was found in his intestines, and that small tree blooms only in late spring. So he may have breathed some in or drunk some water containing the pollen shortly before his death. So what else do we know about the Iceman? He ate a primitive form of wheat, which was baked into bread on an open fire. Although leaves of moss were found in his intestines, it appears that moss was not part of his diet, but had probably entered his mouth by accident. In those days, the local people had no paper bags or plastic wrapping, and so used moss to pack food in. Moss was a very versatile plant, with different varieties that grew far to the north, being used by the Vikings as toilet paper. The equipment found around the body gives us many clues as to his way of life. He was well prepared for climbing through the mountains. He had a jacket made from deer hide and goat hide, and a pair of shoes made from the skin of both goat and bear, and then insulated with plant material. Over the top of it all, he was wearing a cape made from grass and bast, which is made from bark. This could give us a clue as to his occupation. In fact, this cape resembles capes still worn by shepherds in the Balkans, and the site where he was found is near an area where shepherds traditionally take their flocks in summer. Yet the theory that he was a shepherd has little else to support it. It's been proposed that he was a hunter, due to the fact that he was carrying a bow and some arrows. Some earlier ideas that he was a warrior or a trader of flint have been abandoned for lack of any supporting material. The Iceman was found lying on a large rock, and so it was believed initially that he had fallen asleep on the rock and then died. However, the consensus now is that he died nearby and then floated into that position during periods when the ice thawed. There are several indicators for this. First, the awkward position of his left arm. Second, the position of his right hand, which was stuck under another rock. Third, the missing outer layer of skin. And the fact that some of his belongings were a few meters from the body. Despite these interesting findings, there are still many things that we don't know about the Iceman. What was he doing up there high in the mountains, apparently by himself? Did he die from exhaustion and cold while running away from danger? We may never know exactly what the cause of death was, because this would require an autopsy, which has not been allowed as it would cause too much damage to the corpse. When the body was first removed, it was thought to be that of a missing mountain climber, and a number of people disturbed the site, wrecking a good part of the evidence in the process. But hopefully, with further research, we will be able to solve some of the mysteries that still surround the Iceman, who's already taught us so much about the way of life at that time.
That is the end of Section 4. You now have half a minute to check your answers. That is the end of the listening test. You now have 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the answer sheet.